to the Wednesday, August 11th, 2021 Zoom meeting for the Board of Health. Got a lot to discuss tonight, so we're going to get right in on the agenda at 7 p.m. public hearing regarding mental health services. Alicia's here, but I did get an email from Nicole who said that she couldn't be here tonight. So I'll just read what she says. She had attached two documents that were great to share if we were able to. One is I don't know how to pronounce it. It's NAMI program for friends and families of someone living with mental health conditions. It's free and virtual. NAMI has some really great programming available. And then there's also another attachment that recently the Board of Health has recognized September as Recovery Month, and that the board that we might find that interesting. Mental Health Awareness Month is in May, and it might be worth, she thought it might be worth considering doing something similar for that. So Janet or Dave, if we can get that printout, the NAMI Family to Family, it's free educational classes for family and friends of individuals living with mental health conditions. And I think it's Thursdays via Zoom, September 16th to November 4th from 6:30 to 9. There's also, Tuesdays in person in Littleton, October 12th to November 30th from 6:30 to 9. Proof of vaccination is required, and you can register. If we can put that up on the website and TV also. Thanks, Janet. All right, Alicia, did you have anything else to add for the mental health issue?
Yeah, I just, I've been having the conversation with some of the other departments, the school department, Elder and Human Services. Just as the director of Parks and Recreation, this is almost going on my 20th year in the recreation field. And honestly, this is the most, I would say, behavioral and just a lot of mental health issues going on with the kids that, we're seeing. So, the number of reports and things that I've had to, turn into the state is, like I said, more than I've ever seen. And I am genuinely concerned. I do feel like, we're leaving one pandemic and we're going into almost feeling like a mental health pandemic. So I guess my concern comes from, we deal with the state as mandate reporters. And I would say the response that I've had from the state is pretty poor. And I wanted us as a municipality, as a town, for our residents and, maybe even for surrounding towns to really think about what we can do in-house to be able to help out. I know that we're going to have a conversation coming up here next week with the schools to see, if there's a way that Parks and Rec can kind of help them out, whether it's like trying to, find specific programs or someone to come in to do lectures. But like I said, I'm just extremely concerned. It's more than I've ever seen in my career. And it's really sad and really concerning. And we, as much as, we focus on being able to have, fun and creating these enrichment programs for kids, there's a lot of this that, we always joke that you almost need a counseling degree as a second degree in this field. So, it's something that we definitely deal with a lot. So that was just, I wanted to, express my concern and know that whatever we can do from our department, I really would be on board with trying to do whatever we possibly can in-house and in here in town in Littleton.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I know it's just, we're going from one pandemic to another, so.
Yeah.
All right, do you have any, you're just going to offer your services to the school committee?
Yeah, so we're just going to talk about what we can do, as far as during the summer, the conversation that I've had with Elder and Human Services, Amy did a really awesome job and put together a contact list of information specifically that could help families with children that have some of these issues, whether it's behavioral or lack of social skills, all the way up to we're seeing suicide thoughts and cutting and things like that. So she did a really great job of creating different resources that we're able to like give to parents. So so that's something that we're going to continue to do that. We'll talk to the parents, and I always feel bad when I'm asked, well, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. So at least we have some of those resources to be able to point them in the right direction. But I really want to do more.
It sounds like the town and the health, Elder and Human Services have a lot of resources. And I think we talked last week about changing the name, that maybe Elder, maybe there's a group of people that aren't seeking help because they're not elders.
Right.
So maybe Park and Rec offering it to I think, I forget who I was saying, like maybe it was talking to Jim, but little kids have their parents to help them. The older kids may not. The adults then help themselves. So there's like this group in between.
Yeah.
Tweens or young adults that don't know where to go, and young 20-year-olds may not go to Elder Human Services, but they might go to Park and Rec. So
maybe, yeah. And like I said, a lot of our kids that are in our programs, they open up to the counselors, and they talk to them. Even just like being there for a week, they just create these bonds with the kids, and they feel really comfortable to be able to speak with them. And again, we're all mandate reporters. And so those are things that, we have to be able to report anything that we're concerned about, whether it's, abuse or neglect. But it is something that our staff is able to create that relationship that you don't necessarily see. Yes, you would not see those type of kids going to Elder and Human Services for that. But it's something that I know the school also can provide as well, because they get those relationships with the kids as well. So, like I said, if we can have the departments work together to just try to figure out, department names all aside, just how we can do something and offer more, that's really where my thought process is.
When you say counselors, do you mean the young kids, or they're licensed counselors that you're talking about?
No, not licensed counselors. That's why I say we kind of joke around that, you need to have that counseling certificate in our job field. But no, our staff at camp. So whether it's the, lead counselors for the group, or some of the senior counselors, even some of the CITs, the counselors in training, because they see those kids closer to their own age, and they really do open up and share a lot of information.
Does anybody have any other
Well, I'd like to say
suggestions? There's one.
something.
Go ahead, Gino.
Okay, I really appreciate her coming, on Board of Health. I was thinking, actually, I made arrangement on Acton TV to invite Nicole so she can talk about mental health and other things that might be in concern for the young kids or the older people, whatever. And she will be there the 25th of August, and I'll be there at 2:00, and she will tell me a story. If the young lady wants to be on TV, if it's going to be on Acton, it's going to be, I will move it to Littleton too. So
Okay.
the Littleton, all you have to do, they put the channel, and they can listen. The parents can listen. They can watch it. They can see it, and so they realize that the school committee or whoever is in charge, if they feel they need some comfort, that they can see on TV, and maybe they can get help from there. And Nicole says she's not only able to help the town of Littleton, but also the surrounding area. So that'd be nice. So I'll put her in 3 different TV stations. Just if she wants to come too, she can make an appointment and make arrangement.
That's
Leave it-
awesome. If we're able to get some sort of link from the community
Yep.
television station, that's something that we might be able to post on Facebook and, maybe get that out there to more people that wouldn't necessarily see it.
Right, and also I will give you a link on a YouTube. You can send it to whoever want
Okay.
to. When I get that link on it, I'll give it to you or Nicole.
Yep.
When she comes the 25th, let's see what happens. And if you like to come in TV too, can be in TV. If you have something else that she might not be able to
Yeah.
be transfer to the people in the area.
Yeah.
The more people, the better. And also, listen to me, honey. If you can save one life, you did your job.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
No credit because you guys work hard and you are very concerned about the children.
Yeah.
Is that for some reason, since we have the pandemic, a lot of young kids have a lot of problems. You know what I mean? And the parents don't know how to deal with it. So maybe somebody like you and Nicole, they can give them some comfort and they can learn something so they can react.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you let me know if you wanted to do that too.
Okay. Thanks, Gino. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Kevin or Dan, did you guys have any comments that you wanted to make regarding the subject?
I would just say it's awesome that you certainly, as a scout leader, it's amazing. And having just come back from a week of scout camp, that by the end of that week, the bonds that our scouts and the kids have with us and peers that they might not otherwise, we always joke it's camp magic that people do. They open up, they make friendships that last forever. That week of camp is more than 9 months of school sometimes for that bond, and that recognizing your role is beyond just camp counselor. Here's how we do it, or make sure your seatbelt's down on the bus going someplace. But really being able to tie them in both, the mandated reporter piece, but also simply sharing information with parents when necessary, or working with other resources to tie them together is critical. We've kind of talked about how do we recognize the resources that, because we are very kind of siloed. You have some wonderful resources and connections, and the school department has great resources, elder human service, but everyone's kind of working on their own piece. And how do we kind of bring some of those things together? Because we are working with families that, okay, you get the 20-something mom with the 6-year-old kid you're seeing at Camp T. That mom doesn't know, or dad doesn't necessarily know, how do I best help that kid? But they're out of the school, so where can they get support for themselves while they're trying to raise a kid who's having a challenge? There's so many pieces, and it's hard enough dealing with it as an individual, certainly as a parent. How do you manage? How do I go to all those different places, and how can we try to bring some of those pieces under one roof, whether that's actual roof, whether that's department, or whether that's simply a kind of a one-stop shop with, you contact us, and it might be a school issue, it might be a Parks and Rec help, it might be health services, it might be Board of Health and the associated boards. How can we help tie you into where you need to go? We have the interface, external resource, but how can we really work together? Because we've got so many great resources and people who are all trying to do similar things. How can we really share those resources? And that's, I think, probably the biggest piece that we're looking at with this hearing, is trying to figure out, what do we have in place? How can we best utilize that for every resident, from our toddlers through our elderly, and how to make sure that people know that it's out there. And if we can, certainly see where the gaps are. We can say we provide great resources across the spectrum in these different silos, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're providing what's needed out there. And how do we figure out what's really needed? And truthfully, how many kids go hungry here in Littleton? Well, that never happens, of course. And we don't have any substandard housing. And we are a wonderful, well-off suburb. And yet my guess is at Camp T, you've met plenty of kids who, that peanut butter and jelly sandwich is the best meal of the day because that's what they got. Or that ice cream at the end of the week. That kitty ice cream is the first ice cream they've had in a long time, that many of us wouldn't necessarily realize that there are plenty of kids and plenty of families in this town where food is a challenge, and the little niceties are a challenge that you see and your staff sees that others may not. And how do we share that information with the select board and the schools, and how do we make sure that everybody knows that there are maybe needs that are not met in our community, and perhaps that we can.
Absolutely.
Kevin, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Well, I just wanted to add that, however we can get the message out that, we provide these services, that we have access to all these resources, however we can get that out, however we can help you to get that message out, just let us know.
Okay.
We'll try and do that.
Just the one last piece that I have is, if anybody's watching, if you need help, ask for it. There is no shame in it. We have these resources, we have funds, we are here doing our job to be able to help you. So please don't suffer in silence. Please reach out. That's something that, we all are working in the municipal government because we really care. It's not, we're just doing this job for a paycheck. It's genuine. We really do care. And, we really do want to hear from you. So if you need help, please reach out.
All right, thank you, Alicia. Do you guys, so while we've got Alicia here, do you guys mind skipping the COVID discussion for just a quick discussion regarding Long Lake? Is that all right? So we can, she might want to go to the school committee meeting. All right, so it's open.
It is.
You haven't gotten the results yet. Go ahead.
No. So yeah, if you want me to kind of give you the rundown, because we have like 1,000,000,005 phone calls that have come through. So what we typically do if we see, so first, not all algae is harmful. And we do take a sample test just to make sure what type of algae it actually is. So we did see some algae on Friday, and we were being really cautious about it. We closed down one of the swimming zones, and then it started moving into the second swim zone. So just out of safety precaution, we closed the beach, and the beach was closed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So on Sunday, even Friday, we started to see it dissipate some. But we've always been told if the water has been clear and we don't see it for 24 hours, then we can reopen. But we should still take a sample, send it in, and see what was it. So that sample's been taken, it's been sent out. It takes anywhere between 7 to 10 days to be able to get a result back. We kind of did one of those in-house kits, and it showed like everything is good to go. There's not a big deal. It's clean, good to be open. So at this time, yeah, we're open. We're good to go. There aren't any issues. I know Jim Gareffi had told me someone had over at the Prouty Woods boat ramp put up like a homemade sign. And someone called again today about that homemade sign saying the water is dangerous. So, that sign's not legitimate. It is fine and safe to swim. So that's kind of where we're at this time. If you guys have any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Did anybody take that sign down?
I'm not entirely sure if Jim said he like removed it, but the person said that it's not like up anymore. It's like on the ground, but it's still out there.
And what exactly does algae? I guess there's all kinds of algae, like you said. Is it from the rain that we've had, or we don't know because we don't know what it is? But
no, that's a great question. So yeah, you typically see this happen. What ends up happening is you have a downpour. Unfortunately, runoff from yards, especially with the fertilizers that everybody's been putting in their yards because we have beautiful, healthy grass now. But those it makes its way down to the water. And when we had, our slow rainy day, and then the next day was wicked hot and just like, baking with the sun, those are just like the magical components of like, you're feeding it, they're happy. So they're, thriving and surviving. So that's typically where you're going to start seeing, algae sort of bloom in those situations. But like I said, it ended up kind of dissipating by the end of the day. And, as we went over into the weekend, it, went away. So it did die off. So that's not something that, we're concerned about right now.
I saw Jim and Tim driving around my neighborhood last
Yeah.
Friday. Yeah. Yep. Does anybody have any questions for Alicia? You don't have, go ahead, Dan.
Thank you. Alicia, was it Parks and Rec's decision to close the beach, or was it Jim's, or was it?
It was a combination. So the very first, so when I was down there and I saw it, I closed down the first swim zone because I know Jim, he was out in like Ashburnham and couldn't make it out. So, you know, I worked with the aquatic staff down there, and, you know, when it started moving into the second swim zone, I just said, that's it, we're closing it for the day. And then, Jim was able to come out later in the afternoon. And so we just kind of did some impromptu tests to look and see if there was like any particulate matter. And so, you know, we just decided that it was best to say on the safe side, because, you know, we're not able to get these test results until further out. Let's just keep it closed down. So it was a combination for sure.
No, I was curious that, you know, certainly as a member of the board, I don't know any other members, but the first I saw it was on the town website that the Board of Health had shut down the beach. So I was surprised when I checked my email going, did I miss an email? And there wasn't anything there. No, I completely understand. Always, you know, caution, and absolutely. So I was just kind of curious of, certainly it's completely within your scope and responsibility to close down anything you feel is unsafe. I was just curious from the Board of Health side of things, if that decision came as well from under the authority of the board, if, you know, we can, from board side, just make sure that if Jim is involved in shutting down a public facility, that the board is perhaps advised of it, you know, as soon as practical. I certainly wouldn't mean he whipping out his phone saying, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
but as soon as practical. I'm sure the same way you probably let the select board going, oh, by the way, I just closed the beach.
We'll make sure to do that in the future. Yep.
And if the tests come back and I know it's not a popular decision, but to close it again, notify people on the with signs and the website, you'll let us know too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we always tell folks, like, you know, we're at the mercy of, you know, the water. So if, you know, we're not going to take any risks. It's one of those things that, you know, the reactions to blue-green algae can be, you know, like a full body rash, which no one wants. But on the more serious side, if you have like a pet or a young child that actually drinks the water, it could be life-threatening. So, you know, we take it really, really serious if we think something like that potentially could happen.
Evan or Gino, did you have any questions for Alicia regarding Long Lake? Okay. All right. Thanks, Alicia. Have a nice
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. So we will move on to our discussion and our COVID update. Jim is not here tonight, and Katrina is at school committee. So I know, Dan, you wanted to have a few minutes to discuss some things that you were concerned about.
So I had made a request that, you know, we bring it before as an open hearing, so that if the board was to make a finding, make a recommendation, that we'd be able to actually have it on the board, have it on the agenda, so that if we made a motion and a vote and for some action, that we would be able to. We are currently here in Middlesex County considered by the CDC at substantial risk for contagion of COVID. Most of what we've seen so far for the Delta variant is showing that even those folks who are vaccinated, if they become infected, there are, you know, increasing numbers of breakthrough infections, that they tend not to be as symptomatic or as severe, which is wonderful, and that's one more reason why you should go get vaccinated. The viral load is still similar to someone who is unvaccinated, which means you can spread it just as effectively and efficiently as if you were not vaccinated. So that's why the CDC has come out with the recommendation of mask use any indoor setting. It had been for non-immunized, it had been for at-risk folks. Their recommendation is now for all persons indoors, with a mask recommendation for folks who are in substantial or high risk counties. Middlesex County, as I said, is currently a moderate, a substantial risk, excuse me. It's one down from the top. So my piece of making the request was that, do we want to look at the current CDC recommendations as well as the DPH recommendations, which mirrors the CDC recommendations, that what would the will of the board be to try to mitigate COVID transmission? We don't have our town numbers from Katrina or from Jim, unfortunately. What we can find from the state website is that we are relatively lucky right now. I believe we have 5 positive cases in the last 14 days was the last number I believe I saw, but that could be inaccurate, so don't hold me to that one. I do know that some of the communities around us are significantly higher, so that while the virus certainly doesn't pay attention to borders, that we are, same way we were high long after some of our neighbors, at the moment we are still relatively low compared to some of our neighbors. I really want to be able to have that discussion of where we are, what do we think is the best choice for the safety of our town, the safety of our residents, and how best to move forward.
I did talk to Jim before the meeting, and we have 3 positive cases in town. The district has 100, and 25 of those are from Shirley's House of Correction. So if that's fresh off the presses.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep. So did anybody want to comment at all on Dan's statement? Or wish?
I just think that there's something to be said for limiting the discussion and having our time be spent on more proactive discussions. So, if we're going to put it in for a discussion, maybe have, 1 or 2 discussions on it and then move it to a public hearing so we can actually take action on something instead of, going on weeks and months of just keeping this thing as a discussion and being able to act on it.
Yep, I agree. So what are you proposing, Dan? Are you proposing making a mask mandate for the town?
I really wanted the opportunity to have the discussion of, where we are. I certainly think there are a certain number of towns who are doing that. I think right now we have been very, very lucky and we've avoided, where some other towns are. But truthfully, we are one event away from Salem or Provincetown, and we've got 400 or 500 cases. We are not quite as popular as those places, but I believe again, this is from memory, so please don't hold me to it for the transcript. I believe the Provincetown outbreak, the positive cases, I believe it was somewhere around 80% were vaccinated. It was a relatively high number, so it wasn't an unvaccinated population. And that's my concern. That I have enjoyed a few months now of being able to take my mask off now and then. It's been wonderful. But I also recognize it as a relatively, as much as people don't necessarily like them or want them, that it's a relatively minimally impactful personal issue compared to the potential benefit of it, that I thought it was at least worthy of a discussion. Certainly we can't take action tonight because it wasn't on the agenda as actionable, but it's a concern. I also, unfortunately, the school committee is meeting this evening at the exact same time. So as a Board of Health, our authority, our job is to be providing public health oversight, anticipation, and action and recommendation to other agencies. We are designed to be the public health authority for our community, and that as the school committee is trying to make their choice of what is the best course of action for mitigation, if they choose any, for the school department and for the schools and for 15 or 20% of our population for the next 9 months, that as a Board of Health, that is certainly something that we probably should have had a voice in, a recommendation for. It is, on the Board of Health recommends the following. This is as the public health authority, our thought, our choice, our suggestion, our recommendation, or our order, whatever that happens to be. That's one of those places that we probably should have had a voice as the school department is making a public health decision, the Board of Health probably should have anticipated this and been able to provide our input, our thought, our recommendation, or our order as the school department is making a public health decision. So I think that was kind of my piece.
Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
I think the school committee is well versed. I think they're very smart. I think they're going to, mandate as many layers of mitigation as possible, as much distancing as possible, masking, everything they can
Pool
possibly.
testing.
Yeah.
I've heard that the pool testing is going to be continued to be paid for by the state too.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But I do agree that the Board of Health should have had a quorum, had a meeting, made a decision, and should have voiced that opinion to the school committee before they had said meeting this evening. But with that said, I feel like we've had too many discussions and not enough action throughout the whole COVID situation. So if we could make it a decision amongst our group to limit the discussions and move them towards more public hearings so that we will not violate open meeting law moving forward. And we can actually make decisions on items that we discuss without violating open meeting law that might benefit everybody and just reduce the waste in time and resources. And, I know.
I agree.
I think that would be a wise decision.
Be nice to have Jim there too. We leave it for next week.
I did talk to Jim about town mask mandate, and we would need to bring that to town council before we did anything like that. So
We'll have to have a public hearing, of course. I don't know if we need to take it before town council, but we'll have to have a
So
public.
you said you'd have to make it to, you'd have to,
Gotta be legal too.
we have to get a regulation change or something like that. So you recommended that we talk to town council first.
I
But we
don't,
can,
I don't believe that.
okay, well,
We just need to have a public hearing about it.
If he has some grounds for that, certainly if you could share that with us, because certainly the Board of Health is the ultimate authority, and we can issue any order we feel necessary to manage the public health with a public hearing and notice that's our job. I'm not sure. Certainly, maybe perhaps he meant the wording of the motion and the order.
Mm-hmm.
We might be a review to make sure that it is clear and accurate and all that piece of simply from a language piece, but as far as whether it's within the Board of Health scope, authority, and
right.
responsibility.
I don't think that it's not within our scope, but that to bring something up to the town, I think we need to get town council involved to make sure that it's correct. So,
That's just a scare tactic.
well, I'm just saying.
I'm just
Well, thank you, Lisa. We appreciate it. Yeah, but yeah, if you could share if he has any clarifying language of what his concerns are, that would be helpful.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm waiting for Justin to text me to let me know in live time what they've discussed and if they've come to any conclusion. But I have a feeling that parents and school committee is going to recommend, masks all the time in school. So, and we can, make strongly recommend, the Board of Health strongly recommends wearing masks, a statement like that, make it mandatory. What do you guys want to?
Well, we can't really have, I would suggest this sounds like a deliberation, which would be an open meeting violation law.
we're not a public hearing, so if you want to put in a public hearing, we can do that next time. But
Okay,
Right.
all right. And maybe next time we'll have more information from school committee and even the state too, because it's coming out every second, every minute. Listen to the news, there's something new. So, all right. So we'll put that, Janet, if we can put a public hearing for
Next week.
for 2 weeks for mask wearing in the school and what the Board of Health discussion, public hearing for masks.
COVID mitigations in general.
Okay. All right. All right. Anything else on that, guys? Gentlemen? Okay. We have some correspondence. I have some correspondence. Janet sent this to me. The MEMA, the situation awareness regarding the prolonged oppressive heat from August 11th to the 13th. So the National Weather Service is forecasting a potential period of prolonged oppressive heat. Wednesday, Friday, throughout most of the Commonwealth, very hot temperatures. So the interim fire chief, Chief Clancy, texted me earlier tonight and said that we are going to have 2 cooling stations tomorrow at the Council on Aging from 9 to 4, and let me just double check. It might be the police department or it might be the fire station. Sorry. At the fire station from 9 to 5 tomorrow. So 9 to 4 at Council on Aging and 9 to 5 at the fire station. Comments? Anything? Okay.
Great plan.
Hey, cool.
Also, the DEP somebody asked about this last week, that the draft for the individual groundwater discharge permit for Beaver Brook wastewater treatment system, Sand Park and Company has been issued, and so they are working on that. He's also not, I think we've all known this, is not allowed to do any expansion until the system is taken care of. And there's some other things.
Can I just make an observation for the draft permit?
Sure.
It looks like item number 10 under the conditions, any additional connections to the sewer system beyond the commercial development listed in table 1 below shall be approved by Mass DEP as well as the local Board of Health prior to connection. We may want to just make sure that Jim I'm sure he has seen it and is aware of it, but just clarify with him that and as well as the building inspector, sometimes things don't always make it to all the departments yet. Make sure the building inspector as well knows that they cannot connect until it goes through at least Jim. And I admit I'd like to see, with the history of the site, having any additional connections go through the Board of Health directly rather than simply Jim. I'm not sure if that piece is within our scope, if we can request that it actually comes before the board rather than simply administratively through Jim. I'm not sure, but.
Yeah. Jim actually sent that to us, so he is aware of the draft. So I'll make sure that he keeps us in the loop on that.
I agree. Any additional connections it'd be great to just take a look at them, see them before they get.
Okay. We just talked really quick because Janet told me after I talked to Jim that he's on vacation and it's his first one since probably COVID started. So I didn't know that. And he has a meeting with Foxborough too. All right. So there was also a letter from Erica Pagoni. Did you guys see that? About masking and school committee. I'm writing because I noticed that you have a COVID update plan for tomorrow night. The school committee is also meeting tomorrow to discuss masking in schools for the upcoming year. I'm wondering if the Board of Health has taken a position on masking in schools, and if you're advising the school committee and superintendent. I'm also hoping that you would have a public hearing to discuss masking in Littleton, given the recent CDC guidelines. So yes, next.
So what is our position? Let's talk about that.
So we got to go back to the COVID discussion, or are we going to be violating the open meeting law with?
This is a discussion.
Making a discussion. Okay.
Let's take a straw poll here.
Uh-huh.
And figure out, if we were to recommend something, what do we think that all should be?
Go ahead, Kevin. What are you recommending? And Dan, you guys were the ones that talked about proposing mitigations.
I'm certainly happy to. I have strong opinions. I do, in fact, have a concern with having this discussion because this is easily considered a deliberation over board action. That was what Kevin just said. Let's discuss what we would want to do. That's a deliberation. This is not, it is a public meeting. It is not a public hearing for that topic. It would not necessarily be reasonable to believe that for a resident, that this would be a topic of deliberation. I have strong opinions, but I'm not sure, unfortunately, without having this be a public hearing, if we are able to talk about it. I simply don't know. My impression is that's why I had originally requested a public hearing, so that we could, in fact, have a meaningful deliberation and act or choose not to, but appropriately and supportably. That I would hate for a deliberation to occur here, someone challenge it because they did not like whatever we chose to do or chose not to do, and now end up being unable to take an action that we feel is appropriate for an extended period of time because someone challenged the order on a procedural grounds. That's my concern. I'm with Kevin. I certainly have my opinions and thoughts, and I would love to have them supported or changed by the group and members of the community who would have meaningful contributions. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, this is the time.
So don't talk about it.
I would love to, but I have concerns that this would be inappropriate and make us less able to be procedurally correct 2 weeks from now.
Understood.
I'm also happy to have someone try to tell me why I'm wrong with that assessment if I'm wrong, but that would be my concern.
Okay.
You're smarter than I am, so I'm going to defer to you.
When I said no to the public hearing, I just thought that we had enough time during the COVID discussion and member comments to discuss it. So that's why we didn't turn it into an agenda item.
Lisa, might we be able to put it on the agenda as a public hearing for the next meeting to discuss it?
I think we already have.
Okay, good.
Yep. Okay. So we'll go. So anybody else have any correspondence at all?
Just a lot of folks voicing their opinions about schools and the future of.
I've already got questions about Halloween.
There's a ton of them. I know.
Yeah. Because I don't know if you know, Dan, we canceled trick-or-treating last year, and oh my God, you think?
I have kids as well. I have 3 young ones. I understand.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to member comments. If no one has any more correspondence. Did you already just make your comments?
Pretty much.
Okay. Dan or Gino, any more? Go ahead, Dan.
Sorry, let's see. I had a little checklist. I think the only other real thing I had was, unfortunately, Jim's not here, and I'm very, very happy for him that he's been able to take a vacation.
Yeah.
Good for him. We talked at the last meeting. We had that waiver request regarding a change in the as-built. I did have just a question for him of kind of what is our follow-up. We kind of brought up a septic installer needs to be basically licensed and approved by the town, and what kind of follow-up he was providing to both the engineer, who looks like the plans weren't quite as complete as they probably could have been, and that affected the installer's plan to install. Was there any educational follow-up? Was there a regulatory or authority to function follow-up, just to make sure that, for, again, part of our job is to make sure things are right and to help protect our citizens, that the installer either is educated or followed up, or that, if it's the will of the board that their authority to install systems is revoked or suspended for some length of time here in town. I'm not suggesting that's what we should do, but I at least want to make sure that we identify where the errors were, where the challenges were, how that situation, the root cause of how that situation happened, and how do we make sure that doesn't happen for, another resident in our town. So, but maybe when Jim comes back, we can kind of follow up with how do we close that loop, because
Right.
it wasn't pretty for any of us, and I certainly felt very, very bad about having to vote. That I did not feel comfortable granting that waiver. I did not see another option, but it places us in a challenging position of having to not grant a waiver after the fact for an error that was completely avoidable.
Right.
You know, now that that homeowner now is going through. I'm hoping that they should not have to pay, but they do have to deal with the disruption, the continued disruption in their home. When that's not, you know, we want to make sure that does not happen to our residents when we can.
Right. I'm trying to find the email. Mike's not here tonight, but he did want us to talk a little bit about the, and this is a good time to talk about the job description for our own health agent. Does anybody know whereabouts that? Do you know where that? Anybody know where that was sent to? I'm trying to find it.
I don't think I ever received it. I may have, but I don't believe I ever received it. Because I went looking after our last meeting.
Yeah.
And I don't believe I had received it. I'm not sure who else has.
Janet, do you know if you can you find that?
I'm looking.
I am too.
I'm not sure. I may have passed it along, but I don't remember actually reading it.
I did see it. It was quite thorough. I have not had a chance to go through it and redline it and make any edits or adjustments. But maybe if we reconvene and just...
I can try and take a peek and send it to everybody for a discussion for the next meeting.
Great.
Oh, he's going to be upset because we were supposed to do it today. But I do know, and Janet, you know, that HR has to be involved. And do we have somebody
started yet?
Sorry?
They're not in the building yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if we can't necessarily write the job description, we can certainly set the parameters of what the Board of Health would see that health agent's responsibilities.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Being. What Mike had sent over was very thorough. I think he, carbon copied it off of somebody in Westboro or Westford or another town. It is very thorough. It was good. I don't think it was exactly fitting to what the needs of Littleton are, but between the five of us, I think we can tailor it to our needs.
I know, I just wish we could find it and do some of it tonight.
I feel like that's a meeting in and of itself. Lisa.
All right. I just kind of thought it was convenient tonight since Mr. Gruffy's not here, because you know how it's awkward.
Right.
It might be better as a public hearing too.
Well, also, whatever we decide, Zeldin is going to tear it apart and redo it anyway. So.
No, he's really good. He doesn't mind being edited.
No, quit it.
There it is. Yeah, it's pretty lengthy. Oh, it's not that bad. I can read it. Let's see if I can send it to you guys. Janet, how do I email this to you? Janet, I just sent that to you via email. So I'll read you, he's got a intro paragraph, but I'll read you the essential duties and responsibilities. So enforces state and local public health laws and rules and regulations concerning food protection, swimming pools, tanning booths, summer camps, septic facilities, water quality, subsurface sewage disposal, residential properties, nuisance abatement, air quality, hazardous waste control and disposal, noise control, underground fuel storage, surface water pollution, tobacco control, rabies control, and illegal dumping, etc. performs field inspections to assure compliance with applicable laws, rules, and regulations. Supervises and evaluates the results of percolation tests for subsurface disposal of domestic waste issues or denies permits for installation of subsurface disposal systems, inspects installation of the disposal field. Reviews plans for new food service establishment, reviews plans for subsurface sewage disposal, reviews plans for private well installations, inspects restaurants and other food handling and processing establishments, approving or disapproving new or renewal license applications, inspects retail convenience stores and other areas required by law, inspects swimming pools, public swimming pools, and reviews plans for swimming pool construction. Plans and conducts environmental investigations, initiates remedial and enforcement procedures as necessary, maintains inspection records and prepares required or associated work as necessary, handles complaints, investigates and evaluates alleged nuisances pertaining to drinking water, stagnant water, dumping, sewage, inspection, and rodent control, toxic materials and other recognized hazards to public health, explains regulations and educates the public concerning permits and other matters, represents the town in public health emergencies, preparedness region, and regionally works and enhances emergency preparedness plans, provides public health education in matters of public health through public presentations, meeting participation, relevant materials and composition and or dissemination, develops, implements, and or oversees department projects and programs, for example, hazardous waste collection days, community health fairs, rabies clinics, flu clinics, recycling programs, etc. Maintains an up-to-date knowledge of public health and related issues, laws, regulations, and requirements through continuing ed, maintaining effective, efficient, current operations and operations records to achieve department and townwide goals, informs the Board of Health of problems affecting public health, regularly reports to the health conditions of the town to the state and local agencies and civic organizations. And then there's some qualifications. So yeah, that covers a lot. Did Janet get it to you guys? Email it? Anything you want to add? I know that I would love to see, I know it says something about rodent control. I would love to see something about hoarding situations added into that too. We've got a few in town, and I guess the Board of Health has jurisdiction over that too. So
it just came through, and I'm just reading it as well, trying to catch up. Again, I don't think final decisions tonight. I'm going to need to go through it because it's very specific and matching it to our regs and some of the model regulation piece to make sure it's all there. I did not see, and I may have just missed it, housing and dwelling inspections, habitability, those kind of pieces. The hoarding piece, the housing piece. I didn't hear you say it, and I'm doing a quick skim. I don't see that housing law piece of it in there.
yeah.
I mean, I think just stating that enforcement of the state sanitary code pretty much covers it all.
To say state and local.
Yeah.
And I like the public health emergency preparedness, keeping us all informed on what's going on.
Yeah, but now that Chief Wazinski's gone, is it Chief Clancy?
Interim Chief Clancy, yeah.
Is he the one that's supposed to keep us updated?
Yeah, I asked him to come tonight, but there's like we said, there's two other meetings that the school committee and this planning board. There's a joint select board and planning board tonight, so he was going to be attending that. So, but I will see if I will ask him to come to our next meeting.
The town's emergency management officer is also the fire chief. It's a combined. The fire chief is the emergency management officer for the town. So yes, it goes with the title. Even if it's interim, he is.
Got it.
He is the authority for emergency management.
Okay.
Management.
All right. So no other questions or comments on the job description?
To say a little bit closer looking, a couple typographical kind of things, but that's.
Yeah,
But
this
yeah,
is
we can bring it
just
back.
We put it in a Google Doc and sort
just
of.
a draft, Dan.
Yeah, no, obviously pure draft. Yep, and it's very thorough. But yeah, it's going to be just a little bit closer read and comparing to the regs. If we're going to keep it this specific, we want to make sure. And of course, the universal last line of and other responsibilities as you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Have to have a driver's license. And ability
That's there.
to drive.
Including but not limited to.
Right.
All right. Okay. Any other member comments at all?
Not I.
Gotta unmute Gino.
I'd like to get it printed. I can't print it. So make it. She can make it.
Janet just emailed it to you.
I know she did already. I got it. The question is I can't print it because she has to put it to a situation where I can print it. And if I can't print it, I have to go to the office and get it from her printed. She has two choices. Make sure that I can print it, or otherwise I go to the office.
So you have a printer at home?
Yeah,
So you can print it.
yeah, but I can't print it. I put a print and it doesn't come out because for some reason you have to do something else. So I'm not too familiar with it. But sometimes I can say, oh, print it. I print it and it come out.
All right. Janet, I guess maybe if you could get a copy and get that ready for Gino.
I'll be there. Just
Okay.
get that
All right.
computer, but it's too small.
A protected view. All you have to do, Gino, is at the top, hit the enable editing. There's a yellow bar across the top that says.
I know. I did it. I try it. I can see it. Okay. I can see the thing on top, but it doesn't work. I can't, and I have to press it. You have to send it to me to a point where I can print on my own. Okay. And it can't print it, even though I go on top. Sometimes you send it, they're able to print it.
That's how Mike saved the document. If you come in, I will hand you a printed copy.
It's totally Mike's fault. Totally Mike's fault.
Blame Mike. Throw Mike under the bus. He's not here tonight. Hi, Mike. He's probably watching somewhere, or he will be. All right. Moving on, guys, gentlemen, to public comments. And I think we're losing our audience tonight to a more exciting meeting. But we have Kevin Davis, and he's the only attendee. Hi, Kevin. Do you have any questions, any comments?
Oh, I bet he does.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi, Kevin.
Just a couple of things real quick. The first thing is over the summertime, the exposure notification mass notify went live. So that was a not much fanfare went out for that, but that's something that maybe we can do a quick future segment item, whatever you want, on some of that technology if you guys care. We can talk about that a little bit and then talk about how everybody in town that has a smart device, a cell phone, can turn it on and help everybody else out and help Jim out with exposure notifications, because that'll help the manual process. And as a recommendation, one of you guys can do along those lines. One of the things that you could do is potentially assist the school committee in saying, hey, everybody that has an electronic device that is in the school could then turn that on, so that way it would help the school and Jim look at contact tracing as well within the school system. So it's something to think about. That's the only thing that I had to talk about. The rest of it, I will be quiet and let the meeting end sooner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, would you like to go if the Board of Health had an opportunity to talk at the school committee meeting. Would you be willing to explain everything for us?
Sorry, I was on mute. I was on mute. If you guys would like me to do that, I'll be more than happy to put something together to where we can talk to the school board about that and relay that technology piece of information to people. But definitely something we can work on presenting first to the Board of Health and make sure you guys like the information that's there, and then we can also present it to the school committee. No problem.
All right. So Janet, do we need to add Kevin to the COVID discussion for our next meeting? Okay. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Kevin.
No worries. Anytime.
So can we make it a COVID public hearing?
You're saying yes? Okay.
I'm asking.
When's going to be next?
Yep, she says yes.
Sorry, I was typing in on mute. Yes, I'll make it a public hearing since you have several things you want to
Awesome.
discuss.
And depending on, should we ask Katrina to come back?
Yeah, it'd be a good idea.
Okay. I'll contact Katrina and see if she is willing to come back. All right, so moving on to minutes for 7/28/21. I think I sent Janet any corrections. So is there a motion to approve the minutes for 7/28? No, wait a minute. Yeah, 7/28.
Motion to approve minutes for 7/28.
Good. Is there a second? Do you know your second?
Second.
Okay, we'll do roll call. Kevin Baker,
Kevin Baker, yes.
Dan Kane.
Dan Kane, yes.
Oh, sorry. Gino Fratelloni.
Pepperoni, yes.
Lisa Flanagan, yes. All right. Anything else anybody wants to talk about? We're gonna reschedule our next meeting. I'm gonna go for 2 weeks again, gentlemen, if that's all right with you. So that would be the 25th,
That's fine. I mean, I feel like,
unless there's some kind of emergency that
if we
happens.
need to talk to the school committee about anything or mandate anything, we can.
Okay. All right. So the 25th, Janet?
Right, August. Okay, thank you.
All right. I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn. Nice to see you all. I hope everybody's happy.
And a second.
Make sure
I'll
that Dan
second.
is happy. Is Dan happy today?
Couldn't tell who did that. Did that Dan?
I seconded.
Okay. So we'll go by roll call. Kevin Baker,
Kevin Baker, yes.
Gino Fratelloni,
Yes.
Dan Kane,
Dan Kane, yes.
Lisa Flanagan, yes. All right.